and welcome in to be our guest. And we have with us today Stewart Vance, the Vance Law Firm, dial 3, and he's right there for you. And of course, Stewart, you've been a lawyer for over 25 years right now.
Yes.
Used to be a young man. Now you're still a young man. You must have started. As a teenager.
I think it's the haircut, Jack.
It's the haircut. It always does it. It gives it away. And mine, it turned gray. Yours, you just made it go away.
Turn loose is what it was. Yeah.
It's the way to do it. Stuart, last time we were talking about liabilities, and I wanted to bring you back because one of the things we couldn't get into, we didn't have enough time then, is the good news is we have cell phones. It can do a lot of things for us. The bad news is we have cell phones, and it can be one big distraction, not only for older people, which is a lot of my audience, but they need to let their teenage children know, when you're in that car, keep it away from you.
Yeah, good luck with that. You're spot on with that. But, you know, them telling their children, grandchildren, I would rather them tell them than not tell them. But, gosh, I know how many times I say it. I have two relatively new, one brand new driver in my house, 16-year-old and an 18-year-old. Right, exactly right.
I'll give you that. I'll give you the papal blessing.
I need it. But we say it all the time. But I mean, inevitably, that they get other kids in their cars. They get distracted that way.
Yes.
They get the phone ringing or music, or there's so many distractions. And there's so many, in my opinion, poor drivers on the road that even if you're doing right, because so many of our clients were operating their car correctly.
Yes.
And it's somebody else that hit them. Yeah. So and then that was a distracted driver that caused the accident. So yeah, you're spot on. I can't think of an answer for it. Unless they being the overseer of the government says, hey, we're going to do something to not allow it. And I don't think that would ever hold up because you said there's some great things for them. I mean, they are great to have. We say all the time in an accident, take your phone out and take pictures.
Yes.
Of the scene, everything. There's so many good
when it's
positive
fresh
things. That's right.
Yeah,
so many
you're not going to
positive
remember.
Things. We wouldn't until we have those photographs.
And big trucks are on the road. Used to be that you had a handle.
That's right.
You had a handle and you talked, and everything was on that. He just pulled it down and talked and continued to drive.
Right.
But now I'm sure that a lot of these drivers are also using that cell phone and using other devices.
They do, and even the big trucks, their companies require their cameras in them. But over the years we've seen there's still so many things they do wrong. There's mostly they get overloaded. So now they're too heavy to be on the road, and it changes the reaction time. If a big truck driver needs to make an evasive maneuver or stop or whatever it might be, if they're overloaded and they don't have experience doing that, there's no way they can, do what they're trying to do, and causes a bigger and unfortunately a much more serious collision.
And of course, last time we talked a little bit about liability too. And if you're a homeowner, there's things that you probably need to, obviously you want to have guests come over, but you want to make sure that they're safe when they're over there.
Right.
So that's part of the liability that you have there.
There is. There's premises liability is the area you're talking about, where you are. And so it's, there's 3 classifications of that. I won't bore everybody with the details, but, if you operate your home like most people do and you just have social guests over or family friends, you don't have to worry about that because you aren't held to a standard because they're coming to your house technically uninvited or unincentivized to come to your house. But then if you start getting into you invited people over, you're holding meetings at your house regularly, and then of course if you're if you're in business to get people to come to your location, you have a much higher responsibility to make sure things are safe. You got to look around and make sure there's not a loose board on the floor or there's not something else that could hurt someone.
Something on the steps.
Absolutely.
Steps
right. Steps are
the biggest, especially as you're getting a little bit older.
That's right.
You have to watch out where you're stepping. Now, if you're living in a neighborhood, there's a sidewalk in front of your house, basically, is that the city's property?
Yeah, it is. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're not.
If like in our neighborhood, in most neighborhoods with sidewalks, they get uneven because of the ground shifting. If someone trips over the sidewalk in front of your house, you're not responsible. The city or the neighborhood possibly, if they're managing those streets and sidewalks, could be the responsible party. It kind of goes back to one of the defenses for these kinds of premises: open and obvious. If it's there and you should have seen it, sometimes that's going to prevent you from being successful in a claim, because the other side's going to say, well, it was open and obvious, you should have seen it. That's a lot about what we fight about.
Big question also is, you have an insurance policy to drive for your car, and my wife and I are on the policy. My daughter comes over to visit, and we say, well, take the car and run down, and is she covered at that point? She is covered. Yes,
your insurance follows your car unless there's some specifics where someone is listed on there as a non-permissive driver. An example is a teenager driver may have multiple accidents or DUI or whatever it might be. The insurance agent may write the policy that will cover your car for you and your wife. Your child specifically cannot drive that vehicle because your premiums are based on that. And so that way, if that child then drove it, they would not be covered. But if it doesn't say somebody specifically not allowed, then anyone you lend your car to should be covered. And I say should, Jack, because a lot of times policies change. And these insurance companies, the ones that are the least expensive or the cheapest premiums usually are for a reason, and a lot of times it's things in the policy. They cut that out, that you think it would cover everybody, but they put a clause in their policy that it doesn't. So just a fair piece of advice, free piece of advice, be careful what you get in the policy. People go in and say, I want the least expensive that the state requires. Well, that can be tricky because there's a flip side of your insurance where it's uninsured motorist. Where if you are driving your car covered, someone hits you and they're not covered, where do you get coverage from? Well, if you've got a basic policy and you didn't get a cut rate, you didn't sign away anything, you should have uninsured motorist coverage, and that protects you and anybody in your car if you're not at fault. So many people we see waive that. They sign a waiver that says they don't know they're signing it, because one of those things, just sign here, you get the least expensive policy. Well, they're signing away that part of the policy, and then they come to see us, and there's no place to get a recovery. Or you could sue somebody all day long. You would win, but there's no place to collect the money. Wow. So, please come talk to us. It's free. It's free.
Well, thank you for what you do, and remember that it is Stewart Vance. When you dial 3, this is the guy you're going to see, and we'll be right back after this.